galaxy was us. Across the stars, over 200 advanced civilizations watched humanity with growing alarm, not because of our weapons, but because we thrived in chaos, evolved through conflict, and broke every rule written by peaceful worlds. Now, for the first time in history, they're sending a mission not to destroy us, but to understand the one species they never predicted, Earth, and what they find might change the galaxy forever. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. In the floating halls of the Skyvault Citadel, suspended in the gravity-free depths between galaxies, tension thickened the air like fog. Over 200 species, each unique in shape, voice, and way of thought, had gathered in urgent silence. The Grand Chamber, usually a place of peaceful discussions and shared knowledge, now pulsed with unease. Lights flickered faintly along the high crystal arches, responding to the emotions of those within. The Interstellar Harmony Council, the oldest and most respected political body in the known universe, had called for an emergency session. Such calls were rare, so rare that some species had never seen one in their lifetime. At the center of the hall where sound and thought converged stood Harmun Verak, the council's most senior voice. He was a calm figure, long-limbed and light-skinned, with 4 soft ridges along his skull that glowed gently with thought pulses. His voice did not rise, but the room fell silent as it echoed. "Esteemed delegates," he began, "we are here, not to judge, not to panic, but to understand. The situation we face is unlike any before it." A flicker of holographic light lit up the central podium, revealing a spinning blue and green planet, Earth. Some of the delegates leaned forward. Others turned away as if looking at something forbidden. "This world," Harmun continued, "has broken through containment. Their species, once deemed too unstable for contact, has achieved faster than light travel." A low murmur swept through the chamber. Eyes blinked, wings rustled, and tails twitched in disbelief. It was not supposed to be possible. The Sol system, Earth's corner of space, had been quietly sealed off for centuries, a passive quarantine, not as punishment but as a precaution. Earth's dominant species, humans, had been known for rapid emotional swings, uncontrolled technological surges, and a unique fascination with war. According to projections, they were not expected to reach interstellar capability for at least 3 more centuries. Something had changed. From the upper level, a voice chimed in, sharp and mechanical. Rein Volmek, a tall, insect-like delegate with glowing thorax lines, spoke. "The data is verified. Their vessel breached the boundary just 3 cycles ago. It moved with purpose, not drift. This was not an accident. They have done what no species has ever done, escaped our prediction." Gasps erupted across the chamber. For species who lived by data and certainty, the idea that a civilization had slipped through their forecasts was more frightening than the breakthrough itself. "But how?" asked Senator Ferline, whose kind resembled a ribbon of shifting gas. "We have watched them struggle to unite even their own planet. They war against themselves, destroy their own resources. How could such a people leap forward?" Professor Navian Sol, a cultural observer who had studied Earth longer than anyone else in the room, drifted forward. Her amphibian features remained composed, though her voice carried a tinge of urgency. "That," she said, "is what makes them different. Most species slow down in conflict. Humans speed up." The council paused, absorbing the words. Sol went on, projecting flashes of Earth's recent history, tanks rolling through muddy battlefields, rockets soaring into the sky, satellites circling the planet, and now, a bright new ship pushing past the stars. Their wars did not destroy them. In some twisted way, they fueled their progress. Each great crisis gave birth to invention. Each moment of darkness brought a new light. They are not driven by harmony, but by challenge. Thoric Jin, a warrior statesman from a species of armored tusk-bearers, snorted in disbelief. "Then, they are unstable. Progress built on blood is not true progress, it is chaos in disguise." Others nodded, but some hesitated. Among them, Leuven, a soft-spoken diplomat with skin that shimmered like water, offered a different view. Or perhaps we misunderstand. What if their path is not broken, but simply different? They have survived themselves. That alone is worth noting. The debate stirred stronger emotions now. Some demanded the humans be stopped before they brought their chaos to the stars. Others said that ignoring them was the greater danger. Silence could lead to fear. Fear to violence. Finally, Harmon raised a hand, and the room quieted. "We are not here to fear," he said, "but to learn. If Earth has reached the stars, we must decide not only how to respond, but what kind of galaxy we want to be." The delegates looked once more at the hologram of Earth, spinning slowly in space. So small, so fragile, and yet, it had done the impossible. Not by following the path of peace, but by surviving the storm. As the session closed for the cycle, murmurs of concern lingered. A decision would have to be made soon. But beneath the fear, something else stirred among the gathered minds. Curiosity. No species had ever been like humans. No story had unfolded quite the same way. And now, their chapter was about to intersect with the rest of the galaxy. The stars had been watching Earth from afar. Now, Earth was watching back. The next gathering in the Skyvault Citadel took place in a quieter mood, though the tension from before still hovered in the air like invisible smoke. This time, the chamber was darker, lit only by soft blue lights that pulsed gently around the edges. The hologram of Earth remained floating in the center, turning slowly. Delegates sat in thoughtful silence, many of them still unable to understand how such a chaotic species had broken through the boundaries of space. The question now wasn't just how humans had done it, it was why they were so different. Professor. Navian Sol returned to the center of the chamber. Her wide amphibian eyes blinked slowly, thoughtfully. She was known for her calm, for her patience, and for her deep knowledge of cultures across the stars. For over 150 years she had studied humans, quietly observing from orbit, analyzing their language, their art, their actions. She took a moment before speaking, letting the silence stretch until every eye, no matter the number, was on her. "What we see with humans," she began softly, "is not a mistake in our data. It is a mistake in our expectations." A few murmurs rose, but no one interrupted. Navian gestured gently, and new holograms lit the air. Scenes from Earth's past. Fires in cities, armies on battlefields, crowds marching, people hugging, buildings rising from rubble, machines being built, rockets launching. "Most intelligent species," she said, "slow down during great struggles. They pause, they retreat, they protect what they have. But humans, they move faster. Their greatest advances came during or just after their greatest troubles." Reen Volmek, still skeptical, clicked his jaws and asked, "Are you suggesting war is a fuel for growth?" Navian shook her head. "Not war itself. Conflict, challenge, struggle. These are the fires that seem to push them forward. Not because they love violence, but because they refuse to break. When pushed, they adapt. When wounded, they heal and change." A hush followed. The images shifted to Earth scientists during global emergencies, doctors working through pandemics, engineers creating technology at impossible speeds, children learning even while their cities were falling apart. "Humans," Navian said, "evolved differently. Other species reached peace, and from peace they built wonders. Humans built wonders because they never found peace. So instead they created structure around their chaos. Laws, stories, music, nations. They never stopped fighting, but they kept building." Thorik Jin scoffed loudly. "That is not progress. That is survival dressed in decoration." But Leuven leaned forward. "Isn't that the point? They keep surviving, even when they should fail. And each time they survive, they learn. They don't repeat things exactly the same way. It's messy, but it moves." Another image flickered above them. An old human spacecraft, rusty and patched together, but still flying. Navian paused on it and smiled softly. Their machines are not the finest. Their knowledge is not the deepest, but their will to continue is unmatched. Skepticism still hung heavy in the room. Some species, who had long ago moved past war and fear, could not understand why humans still allowed both to exist among them. Raylan Frett, a thin, web-like delegate, whispered the question that many were thinking. But how do they live with such darkness inside them? Navian looked up and answered, because they accept it's there, and they try again and again to shape it. Their history is filled with both pride and shame. They are aware of their failings, and they carry them. They study them. They teach their children about them, not to forget, but to remind. The chamber was quiet again. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others sat completely still, thinking. It was not easy to accept that perhaps humans had simply taken a different path, one full of risk, noise, and confusion, but a path that had still led to the stars. Then came the most unexpected moment of the session. Navian brought up the final hologram. It was not a war, not a machine. It was a simple image. Earth at night, covered in tiny lights, each one a city. One by one the lights blinked out, replaced by the sound of voices, human voices speaking different languages, telling stories, reading poems, laughing, crying. They are not just builders of tools, Navian said. They are builders of meaning. That may be the thing we missed most. Rian Volmek shifted again, uncertain. So what do you propose? That we let them roam the stars freely, with their unpredictability, their weapons, their confusion? Navian let the question sit. Then she said, I propose we stop thinking of them as broken versions of ourselves. They are not a mistake. They are an anomaly. And like all true anomalies, they may hold lessons we never expected. The lights dimmed. Earth turned slowly in the center of the room. From above, it still looked peaceful, quiet. But those who had studied it knew the truth. It was loud, messy, conflicted, and deeply alive. In that moment, some in the chamber saw humans not as threats, but as mirrors, not of who they were, but of who they might have been, had their own histories taken a different turn. The vote on first contact had not yet come, but minds were changing, and far away the humans, unaware of the debate, continued building, dreaming, and reaching. The Council's decision had been made. Despite the concerns and heated debates, a mission would be sent to Earth, not to confront, but to understand. For the first time in centuries, the Interstellar Harmony Council would break its silence and step into the light of an unknown world. The task of leading this mission was given to Kirill Ohm, a diplomat known for balance and patience. Kirill was a being of shimmering surfaces with skin that reflected the emotions of those nearby. He had stood between enemies and built bridges where none existed. This, however, was unlike anything he had done before. Kirill's team was small. It had to be. Any large presence could trigger fear or conflict. Alongside him was Mevra Cole, a strict and brilliant researcher, known for her logical mind and metallic tone. She trusted numbers more than words. Then there was Torin Fay, a quiet observer with a love for life in all forms. He had spent years studying Earth's languages, music, and even its weather. His presence was meant to bring calm, but even he was nervous now. Their ship moved through the silent black, a small vessel disguised to reflect space itself. No Earth sensors detected them as they approached orbit. From above, the planet looked exactly as it had in the recordings. Blue oceans swirling around continents, clouds drifting like whispers, lights flickering in the night across cities. It was beautiful. It was full. Inside the ship, Kirill stood at the observation window. They don't know we're here, he said softly. Mevra tapped on her console. We've picked up thousands of signals, radio, digital, visual. They talk constantly, they argue, they sing, they teach, they scream, all at once. Torin added, and yet in all that noise there is hope. In some places they are planting trees. In others, they are studying the stars. Kirill nodded, but he felt the weight of what was to come. Making first contact with a species like humans was a risk. No one knew how they would react. History had shown their wide range of responses, from welcome to war. Still, contact had to be made. Waiting any longer would only increase fear on both sides. Earth had no united government. It had no single voice to speak for its people. So, through careful observation, the team selected a person who seemed capable of understanding and responding with care. Ayan Malik, a young historian from a university in a peaceful region, was chosen. He was not in power, but he had spoken often about the importance of peace, understanding, and learning from the past. More importantly, he listened, a trait too rare in any species. Late one night, Ayan stood alone in an open field near his home, staring at the stars. He often did this, searching for something he couldn't name. That night, something answered. A warm light appeared before him, not blinding, not frightening, just present. Then, a voice, soft and strange, yet clear. We come in peace. We wish to speak. Ayan froze, then whispered, Am I dreaming? No, said the voice. But if you prefer, you may treat it as one. We will not harm you. We only want to understand your kind. There was a pause. Then Ayan asked the only question that came to mind. Why now? Back aboard the ship, Kirill answered carefully. Because you reached for the stars. And now we must decide if we reach back. In the hours that followed, Ayan and the team spoke. Not of weapons, not of politics, but of people. Ayan explained how his world was divided but not lost. He shared stories of teachers, of children who dreamed of space, of people who built things just to see if they could. He admitted the violence in their past and the struggle to avoid it in their future. Mevra listened closely, recording every word. Torin asked about music and plants. Kirill simply watched, his surface shimmering softly with reflection. What they heard surprised them. Humans knew their own danger, but they also knew beauty. They were afraid, yes, but also curious. So deeply curious. When the conversation ended, Ayan looked at the sky again. Will you come back? Kirill answered. That depends on your people. And ours. As the ship left orbit, the team remained, silent for a long time. Finally, Mevra spoke. They are not prepared. But they are not as lost as we thought. Torin added. They fear themselves, but that fear drives them to improve. Kirill thought of Ayan's eyes, filled with both doubt and wonder. Maybe, he said quietly, they are the only ones who understand what it means to carry darkness and still choose light. They traveled back through the rift in space, back toward the council. What they would report could change the course of galactic history. Humans were not monsters, nor were they saviors. They were something new, something unpredictable, and maybe, just maybe, something worth believing in. The Skyvault Citadel felt heavier than usual when Kirill and the team returned. Word of their journey had spread quickly across the chambers and corridors. Delegates, from every world, every species, had gathered again, their voices quiet, their minds filled with questions. The mission had not failed, but neither had it given clear answers. It had done something more unusual. It had raised new questions. In a hall built for certainty, uncertainty was a rare and uncomfortable guest. Kirill stood once more in the center of the grand assembly, his reflective form dimmed with the weight of what he had seen. Around him the council leaned in, curious and cautious. Harmon Verak gave a slight nod, signaling the floor was his. They are not like us, Kirill began. They are not like any species we've known. The room was silent. Everyone already knew this, but hearing it confirmed by someone who had stood face to face with a human made it real. Kirill continued, speaking slowly. They know fear, deeply. But they do not run from it, they use it, they create despite conflict, they learn in the middle of pain. And even though their history is marked with division, they still build toward something bigger than themselves. He paused, his body flickering with faint colors of thought and emotion. Humans are aware of their flaws. They talk about them, openly. They fight over them. But underneath that there is a desire, not just to survive but to grow, to understand, to reach. Some delegates looked uneasy. Others seemed moved. Mevricol stepped forward holding a small device that projected the conversation with Ayan Malik. It wasn't dramatic. There were no great speeches or promises. Just a young man under the stars asking questions, offering thoughts, showing that his kind could listen as well as speak. Professor Navian Sol watched the recording carefully. So did Leuven Sar, whose watery form trembled with quiet emotion. When the projection ended, silence returned, this time deeper, as if the entire chamber was holding its breath. Then Thorek Jin spoke. His voice was low, but steady. They are still dangerous. Kirill nodded. Yes, but no more dangerous than we once were. That answer caused a stir. Delegates whispered, shifted, grumbled, but no one left. They have not hidden who they are, Kirill said. They told us the truth about their past, their violence, their mistakes. They carry the weight of those things, but they also carry hope. They are not perfect, but they are honest. Harmoon raised a hand. We must now decide. Do we meet them as equals? Or do we turn away and watch from the shadows? Leuven Sar spoke up, her voice soft but certain. If we wait, we may miss the chance to guide them. Or worse, we may show them that the stars fear them. Thorek's eyes narrowed. And if we act too soon, we may invite chaos. The arguments began again, circling the chamber like a slow storm. Words of caution met words of hope. Some feared Earth's unpredictability. Others saw its courage. It lasted for hours. Finally, Harmon called for the vote. One by one, each delegate spoke. The tall ones, the glowing ones, the ones that sang, their answers through vibration or scent. There was no clear pattern. Some of the oldest races voted for contact. Some of the newest voted against. But in the end, the decision passed. Barely. The council would respond. Not with ships or warnings, but with words. They would begin slow, careful communication. They would not open the gates to every star, but they would not leave Earth alone in the dark any longer. When the final result was announced, the lights in the chamber shifted to a soft gold, the color of change. Kirill felt something deep inside him relax. Not joy, exactly, but something close. Relief. A beginning. As the council prepared its first message to Earth, a new debate began. What to say? What language to use? What tone? It would take time, but they had waited this long. A few simple words would be the start of something larger. Later, as the chamber emptied and the lights dimmed, Kirill stood alone, looking up at the hologram of Earth once more. He thought of Ayan, still walking on that distant planet, probably, unaware that the stars had just made a choice about his kind. Torin Fay joined him quietly. Do you think they'll be ready? He asked. Kirill smiled faintly. No, but maybe readiness isn't the point. Maybe it never was. Torin nodded. Maybe they'll surprise us again. As the two stood in silence, watching Earth spin in its slow, beautiful orbit, the first message from the council was sent. It was short, simple. It said, "We see you. We hear you. Let us talk." Back on Earth, the message would take time to reach. It would pass through clouds of dust, radiation, and empty space before finding the right eyes and ears. But it would arrive, and when it did, humanity would face a choice of its own, because the stars had spoken. Now it was Earth's turn to answer.